Today, September 16, 2025, the President of Ghana, John Dramani Mahama, announced that he has reached a deal with ENI Ghana and Vitol Ghana for them to go back to drilling oil in the offshore Cape 3 Points. And I said go back to drilling oil, which means we're already drilling oil. So why did we need a new deal for them to go back to doing what we're already doing? That is the point of this video. I'm going to explain to you why we needed this deal. And before we do that, my name is Nana Akufo-Addo. I'm a Ghanaian writer based in the US. And on this platform, I offer intellectual compositions to events happening in Ghana, whether it has to do with the economy, the history, and sometimes politics of Ghana. And I used to be an entertainment journalist, so sometimes I get into a little entertainment. But today we are going to focus on a short history of the oil and gas industry in Ghana. So let's start from the beginning and walk to where we are today. So in 2007, when Ghana was celebrating 50 years as an independent country, we discovered oil in Cape 3 Points. Yay! I remember 2007, I was in secondary school, I believe. But it was a happy time. We're all wearing Ghana colors. I think 2007 is one of those times where I was proud to be Ghanaian, and that pride have lived in me till date. That is why even though I'm living in the US, I always wear my Ghana kente. I wear my Africa, map, because I'm proud to be Ghanaian. And it started from 2007. And then I remember that day, December 15th, 2010, the then president of Ghana, the late Professor John Atta Mills, opened the Cape 3 Point for Ghana to start producing oil. I remember watching the press conference on TV, proud to be Ghanaian. And today, as it stands now, oil is Ghana's second biggest export after gold. Actually, 30% of Ghana's export revenue comes from oil. And oil, gold, and cocoa together makes up about 85% of Ghana's export revenue. So oil is a big deal. But since Ghana discovered oil, almost all but one of the companies that have been drilling oil in Ghana have been foreign companies. And an industrious Ghanaian by the name of Kevin Okyere in 2008 started a company called Springfield to start upstream oil exploration. And in 2016, he received the license to start exploration around the Cape 3 Point, what is now known as the Afina discovery. And in 2019, Springfield became the first Ghanaian-owned domestic oil drilling company when they started producing the Afina 1X. And even bigger, between 2019 and 2020, Kevin Okyere's Springfield announced that actually the oil they estimated was deposited in the Afina discovery was double. So the government of Ghana was happy that they trusted a Ghanaian company to go into oil exploration and oil producing, and the Ghanaian company didn't just deliver, they double delivered. And as a Ghanaian, I was also proud of that. But governments in Ghana have a funny way of doing things. So patriotism is a good thing. So we're all happy that a Ghanaian has been the one to discover double what they said they were going to do, right? That's a good thing. But the problem with that is the reason why we've never had a Ghanaian company go into oil producing in Ghana until Kevin Okyere was because Ghanaians didn't just have the income or the money to do that type of capital-intensive oil business. So we already had foreign companies doing the business in Ghana. And so, since the government carved it as a patriotic, mission, and government of Ghana announced what they call a unification proposal. They proposed that the companies, or one of the, or two of the companies that were already drilling oil in Ghana before Springfield, should unitize with Springfield. And in my opinion, that was wrong. Here's why. While we are happy to have a Ghanaian-led exploration in Ghana, it is important to honor contracts. So Ghana had a contract with ENI Ghana and Vitol Ghana, which we had honored. So the unitization proposal that Ghana was making, or the government of Ghana was making under President Akufo-Addo, was something that was going to overturn the deal, or the terms of the deal that Ghana already had with those two companies. So what should we have done? And Akufo-Addo, I must add this. While Akufo-Addo was trying to say it was a patriotic mission to put Springfield in charge of more oil fields, we all know that 2020, Ghana government was cash cropped. Ghana needed money. And Akufo-Addo thought that the smart way of getting money was to renegotiate deals that Ghana have already signed. That is bad faith dealing. So the government of Ghana was dealing in bad faith with, what's the name? ENI and Vitol. But in order to explain what is bad faith, let me explain what is the unitization. So unitization, let me put it this way. Let's say you own a big piece of land. You own the whole, which place should I use? Let me use my area. You own the whole North Kaneshi. And you've given different people piece of land. So for example, you gave somebody one plot. This is one plot. And you gave another person another plot, right? And these two plots were close to each other. So this person B, they are trying to start a borehole in their house. And when they are opening the borehole, they notice that the part of the, it's not everywhere that you can have, what do you call it, water. So maybe they realize that it's this part of their land that they can get water from. But if they drill the borehole here, it will affect this person's land. So they go and see person A that I'm trying to drill a borehole, but I notice that if I drill the borehole, it will come into your land. So can you allow me to drill the borehole? And the person A say no, I won't allow you. So they come to you, the person who owns North Kaneshi. And then you say, oh, okay, you know what I'm going to do? Drill the borehole, but the two of you should use the borehole together. So the two of you should contribute money and drill the borehole, and then the two of you will use the borehole together. The reason why I'm using borehole is because, if you are drilling the borehole, you can't draw a straight line like how you can build a fence, because some part will enter into another person's land. That is how the oil business works. So somebody will own some, what's the name? Oil basin, and one part of the land. Another person own oil basin. So the offshore Cape 3-point oil basins reservoirs are more than one. So different people own different ones. But the government of Ghana was saying that because of how close the ENI Ghana reservoir is close to Springfield, the two of them should come together and drill the oil together. Because that way, if they put their capital together and drill the oil together, that way nobody reservoir will not enter into another person's reservoir. And this is common. It happens in the oil business a lot. One company will realize that their reservoir is close to another company, and they negotiate deals to, come to an understanding. Actually, when Ghana discovered oil, Ivory Coast took us to court because Ivory Coast said the point at which Ghana was drilling oil was close enough to Ivory Coast, so much so that the Ivory Coast can say some of the oil that Ghana is drilling is for them. And the court ruled in favor of Ghana, right? So it's a common practice in the oil business for companies to come together and enter the unitization deal, right? However, because ENI already had a deal with Ghana separate, and Springfield already have a deal with Ghana separate, for them to come together for the unitization, the two of them would have to have an understanding. The government of Ghana cannot force ENI to enter into a deal with Springfield. Just like because my borehole is close to your house, I can't force you that if I'm cleaning the borehole, you should also come and clean it with me. You can't force somebody to do something because they have a contract, which is different from the contract that Springfield had. You understand? This is a layman explanation of what this deal is. So, the government of Ghana was still adamant on uniting or unitizing Springfield and ENI Vitol. And so, ENI Vitol, I think Springfield sued ENI Vitol in court and said the Sankofa reservoir which ENI Vitol was mining is taking oil from Springfield, right? And when they entered that, they took them to court, and the court asked them to hold 30% of the income while the case is pending in court. And so, because it is an international contract, the government of Ghana entered a contract with a company which is not a Ghanaian company. So they also took Ghana to international court, what is called USRA court. So it's like an international commercial arbitration court. So when they took actually they didn't take them to, so in USRA you don't do litigation, you do arbitration. And arbitration on the international level is almost as binding as litigation. That's also a layman explanation of the two. So they took Ghana to the international USRA, and USRA ruled that Ghana breached the contract that they have with ENI Vitol by forcing them or by putting the unitization plea out. I think that arrangement or that decision was arrived in July 2024. And actually, when ENI Vitol took Ghana to court, they asked Ghana to pay them $5 billion because that's how much they were going to lose from the unitization deal Ghana was proposing. And I think the court arrived at, $5 billion, no. Ghana should pay them around $950 million. That is the state of the deal as of July 2024. And if you follow news, you know that the government of Ghana said they won the case in court, and ENI Vitol also said they won the case in court. Because it's arbitration, what that means is that both sides walked away with something. So ENI Vitol walked away with the understanding that, yes, Ghana is trying to override the contract they have with them. And Ghana government walked away with the understanding that don't pay them $5 billion, pay them $950 million, which is like less than a fifth of what they're asking for. So what this means is that both sides walked away happy or sad, however you want to look at it. And so that was the state of the contract or the state of affairs between government of Ghana and ENI Vitol. And I said government of Ghana, but these deals is not like Akufo-Addo that sat down to make the deal. It's usually the Ministry of Finance, the Ministry of Energy, GNPC. GNPC also have another company called GNPC Explore Co. So there were like 4 or 5 different companies involved in this litigation. It's a big litigation. And so as of today, Actually, when Mahama took office, he withdrew the unitization order that the Akufo-Addo government put in place. And I believe that opened the gate for them to go back to negotiations. And so negotiations have been in place since the deal have, since Akufo-Addo Mahama took office. And as it stands now, Ghana have successfully ended the negotiations with ENI Vitol. And what does that mean for Ghana? Number one, now we have more domestic control over our oil exploration, which because I think ENI Ghana and Vitol Ghana are going to involve GNPC more in their operations because GNPC holds about 25% of those companies. And two, they are going to double their production of oil. So Ghana is going to make even more oil. And this is important because 60% of Ghana's electricity is generated from natural gas that these two companies explore. So what that means is that we are going to have a bit more security with electricity because of this. So this deal is going to guarantee more energy security. And even more better for Ghana. Earlier this year, Mahama took money from our foreign reserve and pumped into our economy to stabilize the city somewhere in March. And so what that means is that now Ghana is going to have more money to put in the foreign reserve, which means that now increased investor confidence in Ghana. What that means is that Ghana is making better deals because, we have more money now. And this is what I believe is the most important part of this. Usually, if governments lose cases in court, they can decide not to honor the terms that the court set in place. It happens all the time, not just in Ghana. So some company can take the US government to court, the US government will lose, and then nothing will happen to the US government. Do you have army? We go and fight the US army. So, for example, the Wyoming case, the Ghana government lost against Wyoming, and you know about the Wyoming case. I don't want to go into it. So sometimes government can lose a deal and still not honor the terms of the deal. But by Mahama choosing to honor the terms of the deal or the arbitration that Ghana reached with ENI Ghana and Vitol Ghana, Ghana is again proving to the world that we are credit worthy. We are men of our word. If somebody tell us we did them wrong and they take us to court and the court agrees with the person, we honor the terms of the court. And I believe that is a good thing for the government of Ghana, that we are honoring court decisions. I respect that. And what do you think is going to be the best outcome of the deal Mahama has entered with ENI Ghana and Vitol Ghana? Let me know your thoughts. And subscribe to this channel. Later this week, I'll come to you with another video about Dr. Kwame Nkrumah since we are still in September. And then I'll add another video about the gold industry later on.